Well, as you can clearly see here, we have a significant bullish trend that has been decisively broken by a strong bearish candle, and we are now witnessing a rather dramatic new low price. This significant price break has effectively led to a noticeable change of character, and as you can clearly see, this profound change of character has fundamentally shifted the entire price movement for us, ultimately taking us from a strong bullish trend directly into a distinct bearish trend. Break time equals 0.5s/. Here, you can also see that the previous candle has closed almost like a hammer, which clearly and indeed indicates that we might possibly see a significant bullish move upward, but at the very same time, this persistent bearish trend could still continue its downward trajectory. Now, let's go and carefully take a detailed look at the comprehensive market screener tool, which you can easily access on the official website, which is www.thales-mfi.com. So, let's proceed to enter and explore the functionalities of this powerful tool. Break time equals 0.5s/. I'm setting the database to the raw database. I'm filtering today's trades up to this very moment. The options trades that have actually been executed. I am setting the expiry date for this to tomorrow, the 10th of the month, and I'm refreshing it. As you can see, there are about 12,000 bitcoins. In the form of 4,500 option contracts have been traded for tomorrow, which is the end of week expiry, October 10th, and this is important from this perspective. Alright, we can see the result. As you can clearly see, we're looking at a prominent red curve that, right here, it has a distinctly bullish appearance, meaning the curve is actually positioned well above, in a clear profit state, positioned firmly in the profit zone, significantly above the break-even level, and indeed, above the crucial Bitcoin level, and is currently in a very strong profit position. Break time equals 0.5s/. If we carefully turn on the delta indicator, you will clearly see that this significant upward movement has definitively reached its absolute peak, meaning we are precisely at the delta peak, specifically around 120,400, and after this particular area, a definite price ceiling has been observed. But looking downward, you can see that as the price decreases, the delta also decreases, which supports this downward movement. If we go to the process database, you'll notice that in the process database, we also have a rather interesting U-shaped chart where both sides of the entire curve are clearly in profit. Why exactly is that the case? Because some traders have actually predicted an upward movement, and some have predicted a downward movement. Again, if we zoom in here, we're actually facing a shape like this. This is how we should look at the curve. If we zoom in, we're here right now, and technically, the price has also moved downward. We're in a downtrend. So, according to the trend, we can go down to this lower peak, which is around 119,000. Why? Because here, we're in a place where, as the price decreases, delta increases, and as the price increases, delta decreases. So here, the price is actually between a ceiling and a floor price range. The floor price is 119, the ceiling price is about 123 or 124. And now, since our trend is downward, naturally, seeing the 119 floor is actually more likely. It seems that this floor has already been reached. Here, you can see this shadow of the candle has brought us down to about 119,600. So, since this has already been reached, now we'll probably move upward here toward testing this price ceiling, which is around 124. Right now, that might be a high number, and we might only go up to about 123 at most, but there is a chance for an upward move here. And you can see, if 123 or 124 is broken, you'll clearly see that the delta becomes bullish up to around 130,000 and 134,000, which indicates a bullish tendency in the price. Well, to get a better perspective on the future price, we actually overlay the views of option buyers and option sellers to compare them. I've prepared two boxes for this. The settings, setups, and filter configurations for both boxes are the same. As you can see here, I've turned off and deactivated the shorts, that is, the sell contracts, in this box, and in the other box, I've deactivated the longs, meaning the buy contracts. Using this tool, I've overlaid the contracts and their curves, and the result is this: the resulting curve forms a spindle-like structure. The sellers are represented by the dotted curve, and the buyers by the solid curve and this spindle. Which side of the spindle ends up on top or bottom is important to us. At the top, you can see the intersection point, where the seller's curve meets, shows the value 122,700. And at the bottom, this number is 117,500. You can see that this intersection at the top is in profit, in the profit zone, but at the bottom, it's in the loss zone. So, this can show us that, in fact, perhaps, in the coming hours, there will be a noticeable upward tendency, a significant move toward higher prices, and we might actually witness a strong bullish movement in the price action. Break time equals 0.5s/. Alright, for a more detailed analysis, I'm going to look at the contract breakdown. Here, I'll also activate the sell contracts and return the view to the default mode. Let's see what the detailed trades look like for tomorrow. Here, we mentioned that there are about 12,000 Bitcoin contracts, of which 6,700 are buy contracts, call and put. Out of these 6,700, about 4,000 are call buys and 2,620 are put buys. So, if you pay close attention, considering that the trend in the past hour has been downward, despite this, call buyers currently have the upper hand, and it seems that most traders are buying calls and are actually expecting a bullish price movement. They want the price to go up and have a bullish outlook on the price. Alright. Here, you can see how many sell contracts there are. Out of the 12,000, 5,400 Bitcoin contracts are sell contracts, and out of this number, 3,000 of them are call option sells, and 2,300 are put option sells. As you can see, the number of call option sells is higher, the call option sells are more. And here, you can see the price ceiling that these call sellers are targeting is around 122,300. So, we could potentially go up to 122,300, meaning up to this point, which is technically reasonable within this trend. We could move up and then come back down again. So, around 122,500 could be a level we might see in the coming hours, and it's likely one of the price targets for the next hour, after which there's a higher probability of the move continuing downward. Alright, let's go to the process database and see what the situation is with our large contracts, those with high Bitcoin volume. Look, there are 4,380 Bitcoin contracts, and here I filter the size and ask to show me contracts above 15 Bitcoin. There are 64 contracts. Well, that's a bit too many, so it might be hard to analyze all of them. I'll go for 20 Bitcoin and above, 25, 30, 35 Bitcoin. Let me set it to 35 Bitcoin and above, so we have 25 contracts to review. These are actually block contracts. They have block numbers and are usually large contracts with high Bitcoin counts, and sometimes you can find interesting strategies among them. Look here, we have two identical block numbers, which could indicate an option strategy. And pay close attention here. There's a bullish spread worth 200 Bitcoin, which is targeting a price up to a maximum of 126,200. A maximum of 126,200, which in itself shows us a bullish outlook in play here. And if we look closely at the block numbers here, again, you can see two identical block numbers, which could also be part of a strategy. And yes, look, this is also a spread. This is another bullish spread, which is targeting up to 127. So, based on these perspectives we're seeing here, we can expect a bullish move in the coming hours. There are also other large contracts here. For example, there's a single contract worth 200 Bitcoin, which is a put-buy for 114,000. This is a bearish contract, which could indicate that the main move might be downward. Again, here, you see a 250 Bitcoin contract for a put-buy at 113,000, which also shows a bearish outlook. Let's take a look at the liquidation heat map for the 24-hour time frame. You can see that there are liquidity levels on both sides of the price, but the highest liquidity is here at 121,600 and from 121,800 to 122,000. So, given the technical structures that have formed here, the likelihood of the price moving toward these levels is higher. Let's take a look at the 48-hour time frame. Again, you can see here that there are liquidity levels on both sides. On the upside, the liquidity levels are higher, especially up to 122,500, which could then be hunted for liquidity, and after that, we might see a move downward. So, as a final conclusion, it seems this downtrend can continue. It's our main trend. Within this trend, over the next hour, we'll probably see a move back up to around 122,500 and then a continuation downward, possibly touching levels like 118,000. Thank you for your attention.